Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 906, The Holy Land, Mary Joas. Now, Mary Joas was spelled differently in this chapter. Usually it's just one word and spelled Mary Joas. And this time it was spelled M-A-R-Y, so Mary, and then G-E-O-I-S-E, so Joas. And there were two separate words as opposed to the one I think it has always been, which was a little bit weird, but it might change for the volume adaptation. I'm not too sure, but maybe Oda has changed it up a bit. So straight after the hype of last chapter with Sabo and the revolutionaries arriving at Reverie, we get this chapter with zero revolutionary involvement, but still a really good chapter, and just seeing the character interactions and seeing what we saw at the end has left me shook, and I really don't know what to think, because this chapter was good. I really enjoyed it, but with the end of the chapter I'm just like, what? Like, bro, what do we think after that? We're seeing that, you know, I'm not sure what to say about that. So let's just go through it chronologically. The cover story is Columbus with his first mate, I think, which is called Columbus, as in like Columbus, but I think it's Columbus as in like, you know, your as in co-partner, you know. So and they're doing a clean check of their ship, and they knock down a person for doing a bad job of it. So that was all fun and games, but that's at 10 AM, 4 hours after he folded his clothes or something like that. So coming back to the chapter, the Bondola arrives near the top of the red line, not actually at the top, but just near the top, where the merfolk are told to swap out of their floating bubbles for more robust ones in this new airspace, because, you know, air is thinner with the higher up you go, so they need more robust ones. And Oda's attention to detail once again, remembering that the merfolk can't actually travel without those bubbles around them, was actually quite astounding once again. So the royals then have to climb this vast staircase in order to reach the kingdom of the descendants of the world's creators, which are the celestial dragons. So we then see Mary Joas without any obscurity, I think maybe for the first time, with a large cathedral looking building, which is the building we've always seen in all these every time we go to Mary Joas and stuff like that. And it's standing tall, this cathedral looking thing, on one side of the city, with all the other buildings standing opposite the entrance of this cathedral. And obviously Shirahoshi notices the forest straight away. She's like, yo, is this a forest? And she's told that it is, but it's one that was artificially planted, as opposed to being a forest which was just there naturally. So the royals all board this piece of like a travelator on the ground, and something which once again frightens Stelly, because he's a complete idiot. So, but the Neptune family want to take things at their own pace, so they get off of the travelator, and they're just like, yeah, let's go wander around on the pathway and look at the forest and stuff like that, because Shirahoshi's never actually seen a forest, and neither have they, to be fair. So they do that instead of taking the travelator. But then we see that Stelly takes this as kind of like the fishmen fear modern machinery, and he plans to install a travelator in the Goa Kingdom. One, because he's lazy, and two, I think maybe because he hopes if a fishman ever comes to the Goa Kingdom, the machinery will scare him away or something like that. However, we see Fukaboshi here, and possibly his real reasoning for wanting to get off the travelator, which was he was feeling uneasy about it, and it's instantly shown why. Beneath the travelator, and beneath the facade of this city being a tranquil and peaceful place, the travelator is being powered by slaves, as you would imagine, something very celestial dragonish. And it's being powered by slaves, literally dragging the ground beneath the feet of the royals to move them forward. So it's literally the royals trample on the backs of their slaves in order to attain greater heights and to move forward and to progress. So the more we see of the celestial dragons, it's a really good kind of like metaphor for the celestial dragons, but the more we see of them and their world, the more we're going to hate them, and the more I hate them. But something to mention here is that Fukaboshi felt this through his Kenbun Shoku no Haki. I think he was able to feel the emotions, the intense emotions of the slaves beneath him. So we then see a very short scene with Saint Charles, who spies Shirahoshi using some binoculars, and he's actually the celestial dragon which Luffy punched back into the anime, back into the manga in the anime. And he doesn't have any like permanent print of Luffy's fist on his face or anything like that, but he's just there looking at Shirahoshi through some binoculars, and he tells his dad that he saw a big mermaid. Now you have to remember, he's the one with the weird fascination for mermaids. And the question I wanted to ask here was, has he just been standing there gawking with his binoculars at like whoever passes by, just waiting for some hot chick to roll by, or did he know that Shirahoshi was there? Because either way, that's kind of weird. But the other question, the other kind of overarching question to ask here is he going to cause an issue with Shirahoshi? Because we know he's the type of guy who's going to go there and be like, oh, you're my wife. And then obviously the Neptune brothers and Neptune himself won't stand for a celestial dragon taking away Shirahoshi from them. So I doubt they're going to allow that. But it's almost like this guy's crazy. He's a celestial dragon. You have to remember, he's going to throw his weight around as much as he can. So there might be an issue. There might be an altercation between St. Charles and the Neptune family. So we then come to the main entrance of Pangaea Castle, which is what this cathedral-looking building is. And we've seen this, like I said, for many years, and it's in Merijoas. Inside, we go through the main entrance of Pangaea Castle, and we go to the socializing plaza where the royalty are kind of just mingling, and their escorts are kind of just bordering the walls. They're just chilling on watch, really. And obviously, to prevent any beef, weapons have been confiscated, but there's gourmet food, and everyone seems to be really chill and getting on well. Even Neptune is greeted by like the children of some royal from some next place. We don't even know who she is, but yeah, everything seems to be going really well. We then get a page where all these really slimy royals are trying to get their sons into like Shirahoshi's DMs, but she rejects them all because they're not her type. And I loved how her brothers reacted. You know, I think it was both Fukaboshi and Ryuboshi. They reacted like intensely when she rejected the other royals, knowing how royalty should respond to one another, especially with requests of marriage and stuff like that. I mean, like they were kind of trying to get their sons' hands into kind of Shirahoshi's, and obviously Shirahoshi's being like a very kind of, she's not antisocial. She just hasn't had very much experience in social environments. She gets scolded by both Fukaboshi and Ryuboshi, saying that she needs to lie a little and just kind of play along with the royals a bit. You know, just kind of play through the conversation. Something she's very uncomfortable with and very inexperienced with. So we then finally go to, and we get to finally see Vivi, who has just met with Rebecca, and Vivi holds Leo in her hands, the Tontata, gushing at how cute he is, which offends Leo temporarily, but once she apologizes, he's fine with it. So it turns out that he showed himself to Vivi, which is something that the dwarves tend to not do. But he showed himself to Vivi upon hearing her say that she knows Luffy, and obviously Luffy being his fleet captain, he's just like, he needed to introduce himself straight away. So then we get Rebecca and Vivi kind of talking and chilling, realizing the amount of work the Straw Hats have put in since entering the Grand Line. You know, these are two different princesses who have been helped out through the years for us of reading by the Straw Hats, and now they've come together in kind of like their Princess Sentai type thing. So I like the little arc summaries that were provided this chapter as well, reminding us of things that went down so many years ago, like in Alabasta and things like that, Drum Kingdom, and of how characters have a relationship with the Straw Hats. So Rebecca says that she heard, no, actually it was Vivi says that she heard about Dressrosa, and she clocked that it was the work of Luffy trying to help out under the kingdom once again. And this catches the attention of Shirahoshi, who then kind of leans into Vivi's conversation, eager to talk to someone about Luffy, because she hasn't really had anybody to talk about Luffy with. So Ryuboshi goes apeshit. He's like seeing how dangerous this situation could turn out to be if it was found out that if the royals found out, even the Celestial Dragons or something like that, that the Ryugu Kingdom had an affiliation with the Straw Hats. So he was like, no, we're not talking about this. But Vivi here realizes that that Luffy must have gone through Fishman Island to get to the New World, but she's still kind of wary of Shirahoshi. So she doesn't actually say anything. But Rebecca destroys this wariness by asking Shirahoshi if she just said Luffy-sama, which is kind of like an honorific suggesting respect. So after telling them, this is Shirahoshi, after she tells them that she's indebted to Luffy, Shirahoshi and Vivi and Rebecca kind of just develop this friendship and start chatting comfortably. And it's strange because Luffy's ability to kind of gain comrades seems to have worked outside of him being there, which is something that hasn't happened yet, you know, with the Alabasta, Dressrosa and Ryugu Kingdoms making a friendship because of him, even though that's Luffy's ability to kind of just gain comrades out of nowhere. So that was kind of unique and nice to see, like Luffy's friends are making friends with his friends. You know, they're all friends of friends, a mutual friendship. So we see Igaram, Viola and Fukaboshi happy at the fact that their respective princesses seem to be getting on so well, especially Fukaboshi, because he realizes how little experience Shirahoshi has had with other people in general. So Sai arrives on the scene, the 13th generation leader of the Happo Navy, recognizing Rebecca and she recognizing him in turn. Leo is happy to see Sai, with Sai calling him his brother, and I actually really liked that interaction. I like how Sai shows the relationship between the Straw Hat fleet. You know, they've all taken the sake cup, they've drunk from the sake cup, and they're all brothers in arms beneath the Straw Hat flag. So that's exactly how Sai is going to treat them. You know, he refers to Leo as his brother, and I thought that was pretty cool. So Sai tells Leo that with this job he's going to cut ties with his country. That was the Jaimini's box translation, but I don't think that makes it sound like Sai is going to abandon his country, but I don't think that's correct. I think the translation in the manga stream version might be more accurate. He's going to cut ties with Mary Joas. That's what I think might be more what he's trying to say. So suddenly the king of the evil black drum kingdom shows up, and it's Wapol and his queen Kinderella. Now obviously Vivi has her own beef with Wapol, having encountered him as a child and he slapped her and things like that, and she held back her tears and things like that to kind of negate an international war or something like that. And she also met him at Sakura Kingdom, or what was the old drum kingdom. Wapol proceeds to make fun of Cobra's health, King Cobra, laughing with his dunce of a wife, until another blast from the past pops up, the king of Sakura Kingdom, Dalton. So Dalton is disappointed that another country has been kind of formed with Wapol as its ruler, but I was just really hyped to see Dalton and see Dr. Kureha again after so long. It's been really long since we've actually seen them as part of the story, rather than just seeing them like as at the end of an arc, just seeing them react to Luffy's new bounty or something like that. So Vivi is happy to see Dalton and Kureha again, with Kureha saying that if she knew Vivi was a princess, she would have charged them all back then when Nami was in her care, you know, and Nami had that illness in Drum Kingdom, which is why they stopped there. So Wapol tries to assert his dominance over Dalton, questioning how a mere retainer could tell him stop with his banter, you know, and Dalton assumes his no bullshit mode, which is surprisingly enough a bull, and intimidates the crap out of Wapol and just keeps him away from him. So as Wapol kind of runs away, he shouts to Dalton that the higher he climbs and the more he learns about, you know, the royalty and the hierarchy of the world, the more he'll realize that he can't rule a country in purity and by kind of just being a pure individual. Something which I don't really think will affect Dalton. He's too much of an honorable guy, but then you have people like Wapol who really make use of that kind of thing. So Dalton asks if Vivi has heard the recent news about Luffy, which makes Rebecca and Leo realize that Dalton is also a Luffy fanboy. So once he makes sure it's safe to do so, Dalton confirms he's a fanboy, creating this little clique of Luffy fans in Reverie, which is such a unique thing, and I really, really want to see more of an interaction going on there, because Luffy's essentially got his own crew in Reverie, which is just going to be backing him up, and especially because the revolutionaries are there. I think this was the last part of actual Reverie. Yeah, so this was the last part of the chapter which actually focused on Mary Joas in regards to Vivi and the rest of the guys attending Reverie. So yeah, I really want to see more of an interaction there, see what they'll do to aid Luffy in any way, if they're going to even try to aid Luffy in any way, or what they're going to do, what they're going to demand of Reverie. What do they need, each individual kingdom, what do they need, and how would that help Luffy in any way. Also, seeing as the revolutionaries are there, and we now know that there are slaves present within the city, it's got to be part of the Revolutionary Army's kind of objective to free the slaves within the city. So is it going to be kind of like Dressrosa 2.0? The slaves are freed from the Celestial Dragon's kind of leadership, or master kind of ship. I don't even know what you call the word. Dictatorship. So are they going to be freed from that kind of dictatorship, and are they going to run riot in Mary Joas, or are they going to just quick time hitch a ride on Kurasu and get the hell out of there and then become part of the Revolutionary Army and then unfortunately become Okamas? But yeah, a whole bunch of things could happen. We could have all these kingdoms demanding different things, and then suddenly they all dip to the Revolutionary Army to get away from the destruction that might happen at Mary Joas. But basically big things could go down. So we then actually go to Impel Down, where Doflamingo is in solitary confinement down in level 6, and it turns out Magellan is protecting him. Now when I heard that he was protecting him, I was like, yo, like, if Magellan's protecting you, some big shit's got to be going down. So it turns out an assassin has been sent down from the celestial dragons to prevent Doflamingo from talking about the secret treasure. We've heard of the secret treasure many times before, but especially in the case of Doflamingo, who is in actual fact of celestial dragon descendant heritage. So as he says this, he's talking about, the Doflamingo's talking about how this assassin's been sent from Merijoas. We go back to Merijoas, where a silhouetted figure walks up some stairs in some deep dark crypt within the city, and I assume it's beneath Pangaea Castle, but it could just as well not be. This individual is carrying Luffy's wanted poster, as well as some other wanted posters, I assume probably the Straw Hat crew, and the figure opens up a door and walks into what we now realize is a really cold part of Merijoas. There's ice running up the walls and floor, and if you look at the panels beforehand, you can see that this person is breathing air is just condensing in front of him. So so there's all that, and then the person walks up to some slots in the wall where we're shown what is presumed to be the secret treasure. And this is where I was shook, and I'm really careful about what I want to say here. A large straw hat identical to Luffy's in every way but size is just chilling in one of these slots with some ice with some frost just running through it, but not actually frozen solid. And I didn't know what to think at this point, and I still don't really know what to think at this point. There's a giant freaking straw hat just chilling in Merijoas in some crypt where the secret treasures are locked away, and especially because Doflamingo was talking about the secret treasure, this has got to be the secret treasure. So I have no idea what it is. I don't know why it's there, and it's particularly large. It's not like it would fit Luffy's head. It's multiple times larger, so maybe a giant or someone close to being a giant. And everyone said the same thing. Is it Joy Boy's straw hat? We don't know who Joy Boy is. He could very well have been a larger individual. So it could be Joy Boy's straw hat. It could be some sort of symbol of the D's. How did Roger come by his hat? Was it a coincidence that he just happened to wear a straw hat? Or did the person who gave Roger his straw hat know of what went down in the Void Century and therefore used a straw hat as kind of like a symbol of the D's or something and passed it down to Roger? I have no ideas beyond that. So the individual, actually, let's just talk about him, seems to be, or her, it could actually be a her, but the individual seems to be a royal with a long narrow and pointed crown. I'm not sure if they have a hair length, a shoulder length hair in kind of like a bob, or whether that was just part of their kind of attire. Anything can be speculated about the royal, but it could just be a kid. People are speculating that it's a kid who's a fanboy of the Straw Hats. I really don't think so. I think it's just it might just be a middle-aged royal that's looking at this thing, the Straw Hat, and looking at Luffy's wanted poster and thinking, shit, what are we going to do about this kid? So I really enjoyed the chapter, but I'm so confused and I really don't know what to say. So let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let me know what you guys thought of the end of this chapter. That's what I'm particularly interested in. And I'll review Boku no Hero Academia tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then.